Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. There's been another violent night at the Polish-Belarusian border with hundreds of attempts to cross into Poland illegally. Representatives of the Polish border guard stated that Belarusian border guards had once again aided the migrants in the violent assaults on the Polish forces guarding the border. At an early morning press conference, the spokesperson for the Polish border guard stated that Belarusian authorities were continuing to aid migrants in their attempts to breach the frontier. She said Belarusian border guards had blinded Polish officers with strobe lights and green lasers. The Belarusians also brought logs to help the group of migrants scale the Polish border fence. On Sunday, a group of around 150 migrants tried to force their way through the border near Dubice-Czekiewne. The attack, as always, began with stones thrown against the Polish guards and Belarusian officers blinding us with lasers and flashlights. They also helped the migrants to throw a log across the barbed wire fence. This time we saw those logs being brought at the border by some Belarusian vehicles. Yesterday's incident ended with a group of 70 people actually entering a few metres into Polish territory, but they were stopped, informed they must leave Polish territory and return to the borderline. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said on Monday he sought no confrontation with Poland and wanted the European Union to take in 2,000 migrants stranded on the border. He also stated that the country is preparing a second flight to Iraq for migrants who wish to return home. We will be trying to do everything that these people want. The migrants' wishes are law for us. When some of them stated they wanted to go back to Iraq or Syria, we organised a special flight. And we are preparing another one at the end of the month if there will be enough people. They are not really eager to return home, but we will be supporting that idea. Poland and its neighbours are calling on the European Union to place additional sanctions on Belarus for its acts of hybrid warfare. After a long day visiting the capitals of all three Baltic states, Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki visited the troops guarding Poland's eastern border late last night. He told the soldiers and border guards that they have to be prepared for the possibility that the worst could still be ahead of us. Increasingly large and aggressive groups of migrants from Africa and the Middle East have been trying to storm the Polish-Belarusian border in recent weeks. Poland, the Baltic States and the European Union accuse Belarus of flying in thousands of people from the Middle East and pushing them to cross into the European Union and NATO members Poland, Lithuania and Latvia in response to European sanctions. Morawiecki thanked border guards and soldiers for their service in what he termed a symbolic border battle, saying Belarus was carrying out a hybrid rather than a conventional war. He also said border guards had dealt with migrants efficiently and normally, saying accusations of mistreatment were vile. We will not allow anyone to abuse Polish servicemen or your service, your work, which you have fulfilled with such dignity and such efficiency. We are not only wholeheartedly with you, but the whole state of Poland stands behind you, and we will do everything in this border battle. Let's call it like this, even if only symbolically, which partly is also a hybrid war and not a conventional war. But we know that the aggressor is emboldened by weakness, unfortunately, very often resorts to more resolute methods. Poland denies accusations by humanitarian groups that it is violating the international right to asylum by hustling migrants back into Belarus instead of accepting their applications for protection. Warsaw said its actions are legal. In spite of the very infamous, I would even say vile, accusations of mistreatment of people, who often find themselves on the other side, not through their own fault, I want to thank you all for combining efficiency with a normal approach to people. Minsk, which denies fomenting the crisis, cleared a migrant camp near the border on Thursday and started to repatriate some people to Iraq. Chile is headed for a very polarised presidential election runoff next month after the hard-right former congressman José Antonio Cast finished on top in the first round vote on Sunday ahead of the far-left lawmaker and former protest leader Gabriel Boric. Cast had been considered an outsider in the lead-up to the election, but has surged in the polls over the last 2 months following a very principled stance on law and order issues. With nearly 97% of the vote counted, Cast had won 28% of votes to 25.5% for Boric, with a sizable gap between them and the rest of the field. More moderate centre-right candidates performed well, a potential boost for Cast, who appears to be in pole position heading to the runoff on December the 19th.
Hoy día habló el pueblo de Chile.
Today, Chile's people have spoken and gave us a first majority. To each one of them, to the most humble people who dared to vote, to those who travelled hundreds and thousands of kilometres to vote, thank you. Thank you from the heart. The election, the copper-producing Andean country's most decisive since its 1990 return to democracy, has split voters between those seeking a shake-up of Chile's free market model and those demanding a harder line against crime and immigration. It comes after 2 years of a wave of violent protest by people demanding supporting left-wing economic policies. The demonstrations propelled the candidacy of Boric, who for much of the race held a comfortable lead. But increasing fatigue among Chileans, fed up with the political violence, combined with a widespread perception that crime is on the rise, has boosted caste. Let no one get it wrong. The only presidential candidacy that is an alternative to face criminals and drug traffickers, and the only option that will put an end to terrorism, is the one we represent. There is no other. Caste, a 55-year-old father of 9, has praised the neoliberal economic legacy of Augusto Pinochet. His frank talk, across-the-board conservatism, and sometimes idiosyncratic policy ideas, such as digging a ditch to curb illegal immigration, have drawn frequent comparisons with former United States President Donald Trump and Brazil's Jair Bolsonaro. 5 people were killed and more than 40 injured after an SUV sped through a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin yesterday. The police have stated that they have arrested a person of interest, but that it is too early to speak about the potential motive. The driver ran down dozens of people, including youngsters waving pom-poms and a group of dancing grannies. The Waukesha Police Department said on its Facebook page that 5 people were killed and over 40 were injured. It is not known whether the incident was related to terrorism, but the incident brought many people's memories back to the Islamist terrorist attack on a Christmas market in Berlin, in Germany, in 2016, when 12 people were killed in a truck attack linked to the Islamic State. According to witnesses, the SUV was travelling at around 60 km per hour when it hit a dance team of girls aged between 9 and 15. United States President Joe Biden has been briefed by aides about the events, a White House official said. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.